Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a concept today that has puzzled thinkers for
Oh,
centuries.
yeah. Big time.
It's this idea of the one and the many. And,
Hmm.
we have a really interesting stack of sources for this one.
Hmm.
YouTube videos, articles, even
Wow.
a piece that analyzes the problem through the lens of, like, video game design.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, it seems like this philosophical problem, it kind of pops up everywhere, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's so fascinating about this whole one and the many thing is that it's not just, stuck in some ivory tower, some
Right.
dusty old philosophy department.
Yeah.
It's something we encounter all the time, every day, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to kind of set the stage for our listeners, help them understand what we're dealing with here.
Sure.
Let's start with something everyone can relate to, like a symphony orchestra,
Okay.
right? You've got all these individual musicians, each one with their own instrument.
Their own unique sound, too.
Exactly. That's the many.
Right.
But then when they play together,
Yeah.
they create one beautiful, harmonious piece of music.
That's the one.
That's the one. So the question is, how do we reconcile these two seemingly contradictory ideas?
Well, that really is the heart of the problem of the one and the many. It's this challenge of understanding how unity and diversity coexist and how they interact.
Yeah.
Not just in a symphony, but in the very fabric of reality itself.
And you're saying this isn't just, some abstract philosophical puzzle.
No, not at all.
Like, we see this tension playing out in the real world.
All the time. Yeah.
All the time.
Absolutely.
So give us some examples. Where do we see this?
Oh, well, I mean, take the American political system, for example.
Okay.
We have this commitment to individual liberty.
All right.
That's the many. But at the same time, we're also trying to create this unified and functional society.
The one.
The one, right.
Right.
So finding that balance, where individual rights are protected, but we're still promoting the common good,
Mm-hmm.
that's a constant challenge. It's a real struggle.
It's like trying to, I don't know, fit a bunch of differently shaped puzzle pieces together
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
into one cohesive picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just politics.
Right. No, not at all.
I mean, one of the articles you shared was talking about how biologists classify all the diversity of life on Earth,
Yeah.
right? So that's got to be,
I mean, think about it.
yeah.
The incredible variety of species we see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the many
Right?
right there. And
Yeah.
and biologists, they try to categorize them. They look for patterns, for connections, the underlying oneness.
Yeah.
But even within a species, there's so much variation. I mean, is there really a clear line between, one species and another?
Right.
Or is it more of a spectrum?
Right.
I these questions about how we classify, how we categorize, these are right at the heart of this whole one and the many problem.
So we're seeing this in politics, we're seeing this in biology, and we saw it in music.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like this problem's inescapable.
It really is, and it goes even deeper than that.
Oh, okay.
Think about your own life.
Okay.
You're one unique individual,
Yeah.
but you're also part of a family,
Yeah.
part of community,
A nation.
a nation. Yeah.
A planet.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you balance, your individual needs, your desires, with the needs of the groups that you belong to?
Yeah.
That's the one and the many playing out in your everyday life.
Okay, so this isn't just some, intellectual exercise for philosophers to debate.
Right.
This actually has, implications for how we live our lives, how we understand ourselves,
Absolutely.
the world around us. But how have people tried to, like, solve this puzzle, this philosophical puzzle?
Well, some of the earliest attempts came from the pre-Socratic philosophers.
Okay.
These were the thinkers in ancient Greece who were, wrestling with these really fundamental questions about the nature of reality.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to find that underlying principle that could explain both the unity and the diversity they observed in the world around them.
So, like, give us an example. What did they come up with?
Well, one of the sources mentioned Thales.
Okay.
And Thales, he believed that everything was ultimately made of water.
Water.
Water, yeah.
Okay.
And I have to admit, that seems a bit simplistic to me.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, water's essential for life, sure, but
Yeah.
to really explain, the sheer complexity of the universe.
Mm.
Like, everything comes down to water. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, and that was exactly the critique that Anaximander, another pre-Socratic philosopher, that's what he said, you know.
Okay.
He said that choosing water as this fundamental element, it just seemed arbitrary.
Okay, yeah.
Why water?
Why not something else?
Yeah, why not air or earth or fire?
Yeah.
What made water so special?
Right. What's so special about water?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So Anaximander, he came up with his own solution.
Okay.
And the source you mentioned this thing called apeiron.
Apeiron. Yeah. What is it?
Right. So Anaximander, he proposed that the fundamental reality, it wasn't any specific element.
Mm-hmm.
It was something called apeiron, which means like unlimited or indefinite.
Okay.
It's this boundless, this primordial substance
Okay.
from which all things arise.
Okay.
And to which they all eventually return.
So instead of looking for that unifying principle, like within the world, like in the water or the air or the fire,
Right,
he's
yeah.
saying there's something like beyond the world,
Yeah, like outside of it.
outside of it, something that transcends our categories.
Yeah, our limitations.
Their limitations and gives rise to all the diversity that we see.
Exactly. And in doing so, he was really, pushing the boundaries of philosophical inquiry. He
Yeah.
was challenging his contemporaries to look beyond just what's right in front of them.
Right.
Consider the possibility of a reality that lies beyond our immediate perception.
So thinking outside the box.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Outside the box, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a great place to leave it for today. So Anaximander was thinking outside the box. Literally.
Yeah.
Instead of water or fire, he proposed this apeiron thing as the fundamental reality. Were there any other attempts by these pre-Socratic philosophers to grapple with the one and the many?
Oh, tons. Yeah, they weren't afraid to throw out some pretty wild ideas.
Another philosopher, Heraclitus, he believed that the universe was in constant flux, like always changing.
Okay.
And he used fire as kind of the symbol for that. So for him, change was the only constant, the fundamental principle that unified everything.
So instead of searching for some static one, something unchanging,
Yeah.
Heraclitus was embracing the ever-shifting many.
Yeah, the constant flow, the dynamic nature of reality.
But wouldn't that make it impossible to have like any real knowledge or understanding of the world?
That's a great question.
Because like if everything is always changing, how can we grasp anything for sure?
That's a really good point. And that leads us to another really important figure, Parmenides. He took the opposite approach.
Okay.
He argued that change is actually an illusion.
Okay.
He believed that true reality is one, unchanging, and eternal.
So it was kind of like a philosophical tug of war
Yeah, you could say that.
between constant change and unchanging unity.
Yeah, they were wrestling with these fundamental questions.
It seems like these pre-Socratics were already hitting on some really deep, profound ideas.
Yeah, they really were.
Mm.
And their work laid the foundation for later philosophers like Plato and Aristotle. Remember how you mentioned Aristotle's idea of forms and matter?
Right. One of the articles touched on that, but I'll admit, I still find that concept a bit hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it can be a bit tricky.
Could you maybe break it down for me and our listeners?
Sure. Imagine a beautiful oak tree. Okay. That specific tree, that's a particular instance of the form of oakness.
Okay.
The form is like the perfect blueprint. It's unchanging. Well, the matter is the physical stuff that makes up, this particular tree.
Okay.
So all oak trees, they share the same form,
Mm-hmm.
but they're made of different matter. So that explains both the unity and the diversity within a species.
Okay, so for Aristotle, the one is kind of represented by the forms, and the many by the matter that embodies those forms.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a cosmic cookie cutter.
Yeah, I like that.
You got the cookie cutter, that's the form, and then all the different cookies you can make with it.
That's a great analogy.
Those are the many.
But even with, this intricate system of forms and matter, Aristotle still had a hard time fully explaining the relationship between unity and diversity.
Yeah.
And this brings us to a really important point that one of the sources highlighted. There's a common flaw in a lot of these attempts to solve the one and the many problem.
Oh, right. You mentioned this earlier. It's like they're all missing a key piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. They're all trying to find the solution within the created world itself. They're looking for some element, some principle, some substance, that can unify and explain everything we see. But what if the true solution, it lies beyond the realm of creation?
Right.
What if we need to look outside the box,
Outside the box.
beyond the material world to find the answer?
So instead of looking at what things are made of, we should be asking where they came from.
Yeah, their origin, their source.
Their origin rather than their composition.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, because one of the sources you shared, it actually dives into a solution that's rooted in a theological concept, the idea of God.
Okay, now you've got my attention. You know I love a good theological twist. But how does the concept of God help us solve this philosophical problem?
Well, you see, one of the articles explored Islamic monotheism and its limitations in addressing the one and the many.
Okay.
See, in Islam, God's oneness is absolute. It's eternal. There's no diversity within God's being.
So if God is pure, like undifferentiated unity,
Yeah,
how do we explain the incredible diversity we see in creation?
exactly. If God is only one, it becomes difficult to account for the many.
Right.
It could lead to the view that the material world is an illusion or somehow less real than God.
Okay.
And the article even suggests that Islamic monotheism might not be able to fully embrace the reality of the many alongside the absolute oneness of God.
So it tips the scales too far in favor of the one, potentially diminishing the reality or significance of the many.
Yeah, you could say that. But you said one of the sources pointed to a different concept of God that might provide a more satisfying answer.
Right, right. And that's where the Christian concept of the Trinity comes in.
Exactly.
God is understood not as a singular, like isolated being,
Yeah.
but as one God existing in three persons,
Mm-hmm.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Right.
The Trinity. Now, that's a concept that's both fascinating and incredibly complex.
Yeah, it's a deep one.
So how does this idea of God as three in one, how does that offer a solution to this problem of the one and the many?
Well, the Trinity presents a unique perspective because it holds unity and diversity in perfect balance.
Okay.
Both are equally ultimate and eternally present in the very nature of God.
Okay, help me understand that. How can unity and diversity be equally ultimate?
Okay, think of it this way. In the Trinity, there is one God, one divine essence, but this essence is expressed in three distinct persons.
Okay.
Each person is fully God, yet distinct from the other two.
So it's not about like merging into some kind of homogeneous blob.
No, not at all.
It's about embracing both the unity and the distinctiveness within a relationship.
Exactly. The Trinity shows us that true unity doesn't require uniformity. It's about respecting and valuing the unique contributions of each person,
Mm-hmm.
while still being united in a common essence and purpose.
This is starting to make sense. So instead of trying to find this unifying principle, like within the created world,
Yeah.
we're saying that the very source of creation,
Mm-hmm.
God himself,
Yeah.
is the ultimate example of both unity and diversity. He is, as one of the YouTube videos put it, the concrete universal.
Yeah, that's a great term. It beautifully captures the idea that God is not, some abstract impersonal force. He's a living person who embodies both oneness and manyness.
Mm.
And this has profound implications for how we understand the one and the many problem.
I'm really curious to explore those implications.
Yeah.
But before we dive into that, maybe we should unpack this concept of the concrete universal a bit more. It seems like a key idea here.
Sure. So what's fascinating about this term concrete universal is that it seems like a contradiction.
Yeah.
Concrete, usually refers to something tangible, something specific, while universal points to something abstract, all-encompassing.
So how can something be both concrete and universal at the same time?
Well, think about it this way. The concrete universal suggests that God is the ultimate, the perfect example of both oneness and manyness.
Okay.
He's both the blueprint and the builder,
Yeah.
the artist and the masterpiece. He embodies all the potential for diversity while remaining this single unified being.
Okay, so it's not that God is somehow split between these two
No.
concepts,
Well, no.
but rather he transcends them, perfectly embodying both unity and diversity in a way that we as finite beings we can only glimpse.
Yeah, that's right. And this has really profound implications for how we understand the world around us. The sources you shared describe reality as being pre-interpreted.
Pre-interpreted, okay?
It's like God has not only created the universe, but he's also given it meaning. He's given it order.
Yeah. So you're saying that meaning isn't something we impose on the world.
Right.
It's already there.
Yeah.
It's built into the fabric of reality by God.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Imagine God as a composer writing a symphony.
Okay.
He not only creates the individual notes, but he also arranges them into this beautiful, harmonious whole. Each note has its place, its purpose within the larger composition.
So it's not just about the raw materials of creation.
Yeah.
It's about the intentional arrangement.
Yes.
The relationships, the way everything fits together.
The design.
The many are woven together into the one by the composer's hand.
Exactly. And this is where, the one and the many starts to make sense. We see this incredible diversity of creation.
Well, many.
The many, yeah. But we also recognize the underlying unity.
The one.
The one that comes from the creator's design. But not all thinkers agree on how this divine design plays out in the world. One of the sources you shared used a fascinating analogy from the world of video games to explore this.
Oh, right. It talked about how some games are what they call procedurally generated.
Yeah.
Where the developers create like a basic framework, but then a lot of the details are filled in randomly.
By algorithms, yeah.
By algorithms, right.
Yeah.
And the article compared this approach to certain theological views.
Yeah, like Thomism.
Thomism.
And Molinism.
Molinism.
Where, you have God's overarching design, but then a lot is left up to chance or human free will.
And the author seemed to suggest that this reliance on chance ultimately weakens the unity and coherence of one.
That's right. If chance plays a significant role, it raises questions about the extent of God's sovereignty, his control over creation.
So how does the article address that?
Well, the article contrasts this approach with games like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay.
Where everything is intentionally designed.
Okay.
Down to the smallest detail.
Wow.
And it connected this to a more Calvinistic perspective.
Okay.
Where God is sovereign over every aspect of creation.
That's a powerful analogy.
It really is. It highlights how a Trinitarian worldview, particularly a Calvinistic understanding of God's sovereignty, might offer the most coherent and satisfying solution to the one and the many problem. Because in this view, both the unity and the diversity we see are ultimately grounded in the intentional design of a personal God. So
it's not just that the Trinity solves the problem in some abstract theoretical way. It actually changes how we view everything around us. We see the world not as this random collection of stuff, but as a symphony, a tapestry, a masterpiece woven together by a divine hand.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. The implications of a Trinitarian worldview extend even to how we understand knowledge itself.
Hold on. Are you telling me that the Trinity has something to say about how we know things?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So in a Trinitarian worldview, we don't create truth. We discover it.
Okay.
Truth is grounded in the very nature of God and his creation. And because we are created in God's image, we have the capacity to understand, to know his world truly. Although, never exhaustively.
So there's a sense of order, of meaning baked into the very fabric of reality.
Yeah.
And our minds being reflections of the divine mind are capable of tapping into that order.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which means, we're not left just wandering aimlessly in this sea of randomness.
Yeah.
Trying to create our own truth. There's a solid foundation for knowledge and understanding.
This is giving me a whole new perspective on learning.
Yeah.
It's not just about accumulating facts. It's about participating in the discovery of of this pre-existing order, this divine design.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And it's in that discovery, that exploration of the many within the framework of the one, that we truly find meaning and purpose. But the implications of the Trinity don't stop there.
You're saying there's even more to unpack here.
Oh, definitely. We've only just begun to explore how this idea impacts our lives in practical ways.
Okay, so we've journeyed from like ancient Greece to modern video games.
Yeah, quite a trip.
Right. We've explored this concept of the one and the many. And we've kind of landed on this idea that the Trinity, this one God in three persons, provides a really powerful framework.
Yeah, powerful framework.
For understanding this unity and diversity we see in the world.
Uh-huh.
But you've been kind of teasing some practical applications of all this.
Right.
So how does this pretty heady philosophy and theology, how does it actually play out in our everyday lives?
Well, the implications are really far-reaching. I mean, it touches everything.
Okay.
From our relationships to our creative endeavors, even how we approach ethics.
Wow. Okay.
Let's start with relationships.
Okay.
The Trinity, this perfect community of love and unity within diversity. It offers us a model for how we relate to others.
Okay, that's intriguing.
Yeah.
So break that down for me. How does the Trinity model healthy relationships?
Well, think about it. You've got the distinct persons of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Right.
Each one is fully God, equal in essence, equal in dignity.
Yeah.
Yet they have distinct roles, distinct relationships within the Godhead.
Right.
They're united in love and purpose.
Yeah.
Yet they retain their individual identities.
So it's not about like merging into some homogenous blob.
Right.
It's about embracing both the unity and the distinctiveness within the relationship.
Exactly. The Trinity shows us that true unity doesn't require uniformity.
Yeah.
It's about respecting, valuing the unique contributions of each person while working towards a common purpose.
That makes me think about those times when, I felt pressure to conform in a group.
Right.
Or to suppress, parts of myself to kind of fit in.
Yeah.
Maybe a better approach is to kind of lean into that distinctiveness, to see those differences not as obstacles to unity, but as contributions to a richer, more vibrant whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Trinity provides a framework for understanding how our unique gifts and perspectives, the many, can actually strengthen and enrich the one.
And this principle, it kind of extends beyond just interpersonal relationships, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
One of the articles was talking about the one and the many in the context of art and music.
Oh, yeah. Think about a painting.
Okay.
You've got the individual brushstrokes, the different colors and textures.
The many.
The many, right. But when they're combined skillfully, they create this unified and meaningful work of art. The one, the article suggested that our creative endeavors can actually reflect the beauty and harmony of God's creation.
So when we create, whether it's music or painting or even just like a well-crafted meal,
right,
we're in a way mirroring the divine creative process. We're taking inspiration from that concrete universal and expressing it through our own unique perspectives.
Exactly. We become participants in this grand cosmic dance between the one and the many, contributing our own small notes to the symphony of creation.
Wow, this conversation has really opened my eyes to the interconnectedness of things. It's like this thread of unity and diversity. It runs through every aspect of reality, from the smallest atom to the grandest galaxy.
Yeah.
From our personal relationships to the art we create. But what about ethics? How does the Trinity inform our understanding of right and wrong?
Well, one of the sources pointed out that the unchanging character of God provides a really solid foundation for objective moral values. In a Trinitarian worldview, good and evil, they aren't arbitrary. They're not simply a matter of personal preference. They're grounded in the very nature of God, who is perfectly good and just.
So you're saying that morality isn't just, a matter of personal opinion or cultural norms.
Right.
there's a deeper, a more objective standard.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And this objective morality, it isn't some arbitrary set of rules,
Yeah.
imposed on us
Yeah.
from the outside. It's rooted in the love and wisdom of a God who desires our flourishing.
Yeah.
And the well-being of all creation.
That resonates with me. It's like those times when you encounter, an act of selfless kindness, or a moment of profound injustice.
Yeah.
It just evokes this deep sense that some things are intrinsically right or wrong, regardless of what any individual or society might say.
Right.
There's this kind of moral resonance that seems to point beyond ourselves, beyond our subjective opinions.
Exactly. And this sense of moral resonance, this intuition that some things are objectively right or wrong, it finds a really solid foundation in a Trinitarian worldview.
So acknowledging the Trinity kind of changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes how we view relationships, even the very foundations of morality. It paints a picture of a world that's filled with purpose, and meaning, and this deep sense of interconnectedness.
It really does.
Wow. And don't forget about those seemingly random events you mentioned earlier. One of the sources raised this really provocative question about their significance within this Trinitarian framework.
Right. You mean those coincidences,
Yeah.
or the unexpected turns of events that kind of throw our lives into chaos.
Yeah, or lead us down these completely unexpected paths.
Yeah. Exactly. So the source asks, if the Trinity solves this one and the many problem, what does that mean for those seemingly random events?
Yeah.
Are they truly random, or could they be part of a larger divinely orchestrated plan?
Wow. That's a mind-blowing thought. If God truly is sovereign over all of creation, then even those seemingly chaotic or unpredictable moments, they might fit into his grand design.
Yeah.
In a way that we can't fully grasp. It's like, I don't know, like a hidden tapestry.
Yeah, I like that.
Where we only see a few threads at a time. But the master weaver sees the whole picture.
That's a beautiful image. It invites us to view those unexpected twists and turns in our lives, not just as random occurrences, but as potential threads in a larger story.
Yeah.
A story that is ultimately being woven by a loving and purposeful God.
Well, listeners, I don't know about you, but my mind is officially swirling with new insights and questions. This deep dive into the one and the many has taken us on quite a journey. We've explored ancient philosophy, modern video game design, and even the profound mysteries of the Trinity.
And through it all, we've discovered that this seemingly abstract philosophical problem actually has really profound implications for how we understand ourselves.
Yeah.
Our relationships, our creative endeavors, even the seemingly random events that shape our lives.
If this conversation has resonated with you, I encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating topic. There's a wealth of resources out there.
Yeah.
Books, articles, podcasts.
Oh, yeah, lots of podcasts.
That can really deepen your understanding of the one and the many and its implications for how we live our lives.
Yeah. And perhaps, as you continue to wrestle with these big questions, you'll discover a newfound appreciation for the intricate beauty and profound meaning that's woven into the very fabric of reality.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the one and the many. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking the connections that bind us all together.